and you're listening to my favorite talk show, the PG Show with Aditya.
I welcome you all to episode number 229 on the 3rd of July 2020. Tonight's episode, as always, is divided into two parts. The first part is the reading from the book PG Wodehouse, the name of that book being Stiff Upper Lip Jeeves. What has happened so far? As we know, our main protagonist is highly dependent on the butler Jeeves. Jeeves had gone for a week for a party or an event at one of his aunt's house. Now he is back and he's narrating the incidents as to what happened, who were all present, and some of the things which shocked our protagonist and his ubiquitous relationship with his different aunts. Now, the last line I read was the conversation between our protagonist Bertie Wooster and his aunt Dahlia. Let's continue that conversation. So you are up and about, are you? She boomed. I thought you would be in bed snoring your head off. It is a little unusual for me to be in circulation at this hour, I agreed, but I rose today with the lark and I think the snail. Jeeves, sir, didn't you tell me once that snails were early risers? Yes, sir. The poet Browning in his Pippa Passes, having established that the house is 7 a.m., goes on to say, the lark's on the wing, the snail's on the thorn. As you can see, in this very dialogue, Jeeves is our protagonist's Google. He is the protagonist's internet. For every small information, our protagonist goes and asks Jeeves about anything he wants to know, highlighting the dependence and the relationship between the master and the servant. But this is not a typical master-servant relationship. Let's continue with the conversation. Thank you, Jeeves. I was right, Aunt Dahlia. When I slid from between the sheets, the lark was on the wing, the snail was on the thorn. What the devil are you babbling about? Don't ask me, asked the poet Browning. I was merely apprising you that I was up betimes. I thought it was the least I could do to celebrate Jeeves's return. Got back all right, did he? Looking bronzed and fit. He was in rare form there. Bassett was terrifically impressed. I was glad to have this opportunity of solving the puzzle which had been perplexing me. Now there, I said, you have touched on something I would very much like to have information on. What on earth made you invite Pop Bassett to Brinkley? I did it for the wife and kiddies. What? You wouldn't care to amplify that? I said. It got past me to some extent. For Tom's sake, I mean. She replied with a hearty laugh that rocked me to my foundations. Tom's been feeling rather low of late because of what he calls inquisitive taxation. You know how he hates to give up? I did indeed. If Uncle Tom had his own way, the revenue authorities wouldn't get so much as a glimpse of his money. Well, I thought having to fraternize with Bassett would take his mind off it. Show him that there are worse things in the world than income tax. Our doctor here gave me the idea. He was telling me about a thing called Hodgkin's disease that you cure by giving the patient arsenic. The principle's the same. That Bassett really is the limit. When I see you, I'll tell you the story of the black amber statuette. It's a thing he's just bought for his collection. He was showing it to Tom when he was here, gloating over it. Tom suffered agonies. Poor old buzzard. Jeeves told me he was low spirited. So would you be if you were a collector and another collector you particularly disliked had got hold of a thing you would have given your eye teeth to have in your own collection. I see what you mean, I said, marveling, as I had often done before, that Uncle Tom could attach so much value to objects which I personally would have preferred not to be found dead in a ditch with. The cow creamer I mentioned earlier was one of them, being a milk jug shaped like a cow, of all ghastly ideas. I have always maintained fearlessly that the spiritual home of all these fellows who collect things is a paddled cell in a loony bin. It gave Tom the worst attack of indigestion he's had since he was last lured into eating lobster. And talking of indigestion, I am coming up to London for the day after tomorrow, and shall require you to give me lunch. I assured her that should be attended to, and after exchange of a few more civilities, she rang off. That was Aunt Dahlia Jeeves, I said, coming away from the machine. Yes, sir, I fancied I recognized Mrs. Travers' voice. She wants me to give her lunch the day after tomorrow. I think we better have it here. She's not keen on restaurant cooking. Very good, sir. What's this black amber statuette thing she was talking about? It's a somewhat long story, sir. Then don't tell me now. If I don't rush, I shall be late for my date. I reached for the umbrella and was heading for the open spaces when I heard Jeeves give that soft cough of his, and turning saw that a shadow was about to fall on what had been a day of joyous reunion. In the eye which he was fixing on me, I detected the ant-like gleam which always means that he disapproves of something. And when he said in soupy tone of voice, "Pardon me, sir, but are you proposing to enter the Ritz Hotel in that hat?" I knew that the time had come when Bertram must show that iron resolution of his, which has been so widely publicized. In the matter of head joy, Jeeves is not in tune with modern progressive thought, his attitude being best described perhaps as hidebound, and right from the start I had been asking myself what his reaction would be to the blue alpine hat with the pink feather in it which I had purchased in his absence. Now I knew, I could see that at G that he wanted no piece of it. I, on the other hand, was all for this alpine lid. I was prepared to concede that it would have been more suitable for rural wear, but against this had to be said the fact that it unquestionably lent a diablerie to my appearance, and mine is an appearance that needs all the diablerie it can get. In my voice, therefore, as I replied, there was a touch of steel. Yes, Jeeves, that in a nutshell is what I am proposing to do. Don't you like this hat? No, sir. Well, I do, I replied rather cleverly, and went out with it tilted just that merest shade over the left eye which makes all the difference. My date at the Ritz was with Emerald Stoker, young offspring of the pirate of the Spanish Main, old Bob Stoker, the character who once kidnapped me on board his yacht with a view to making me marry his elder daughter, Pauline. Long story, I won't go into it now. Merely saying that the old fathead had got entirely the wrong angle on the relationships between his ewe lamb and myself, we being just good friends as the expression is. Fortunately, it all ended happily. The Popsy linked in matrimony with Marmaduke, Lord Shuffnell, an ancient buddy of mine, and we are still good friends. I put in an occasional weekend with her and Chuffy, and when she comes to London on a shopping binge or whatever it may be, I see to it that she gets her calories. Quite natural then that when her sister Emerald came over from America to study painting at the Slade, she would have asked me to keep an eye on her and give her lunch from time to time. Kindly old Bertram, the family friend. I was a bit late, as I had foreshadowed in getting to the twist, and she was already there when I arrived. It struck me, as it did every time I saw her, how strange it is that members of a family can be so unlike each other, how different in appearance. I mean, member A so often is from member B, and for the matter of that, member B from member C, if you follow what I am driving at. Take the Stoker troop for instance. To look at them, you would have never guessed they were united by ties of blood. Old Stoker resembled one of those fellows who play bit parts in gangster pictures. Pauline was of a beauty so radiant that strong men whistled after her in the street, while Emerald, in sharp contradistinction, was just ordinary. No different from a million other nice girls, except perhaps for a touch of the Pekingese about the nose and eyes, and more freckles than you usually see. I always enjoyed putting on the nose bag with her, for there was a sort of motherliness about her which I found restful. She was one of those soothing, sympathetic girls you can take your troubles to, confident of having your hand held and your head patted. I was still a bit ruffled about Jeeves and the alpine hat, and of course told her all about it, and nothing could have been in better taste than her attitude. She said it sounded as if Jeeves must be something like her father. She had never met him, Jeeves, I mean, not her father, whom of course she had met frequently. And she told me I had been quite right in displaying the velvet hand in the iron glove. Or rather the other way around, isn't it? Because it never did to let oneself be bossed. Father, she said, always tried to boss everybody, and in her opinion, one of these days some haughty spirit was going to haul off and poke him in the nose, which she said, and I agreed with her, would do him all the good in the world. I was so grateful for these kind words that I asked her if she would care to come to the theatre on the following night, I knowing where I could get hold of a couple of tickets for a well spoken of musical, but she said she couldn't make it. This ends part 1 of this episode. Now let's get to part 2 and discuss something which we all are well aware of but still take it rather casually. We all know humans and civilization has been dependent on some or the other form of technology for centuries. But lately, our definition of technology is limited. For us, technology means the electronic devices, Internet of Things, the various applications, the aptitude. But for me, anything that is not flesh and bones, that is not a part of the human body, is technology. How is that possible? I will give you examples. The pen that we hold in our hand is a form of technology. Remember, technology is aid. It aids us. It doesn't control us. We don't control technology. Technology, whatever be its form, be it ancient, modern, or ultra modern, it's all about an aid. In the unconventional manner, we often divide technology into analog and digital. So, by that logic, the pen that you hold in your hand is analog. But when the same pen you sign, which directly transfers to your electronic device, that becomes a digital pen. But it is by large a pen. It's a technology. It is something which human beings have invented. It is not part of the human body. We use this pen to write our thoughts. Yes, this was happening 100 years ago. We may take this pen, pencil as something casual, but it's a form of technology. Let's get cracking and take a deep dive into what is technology. The paper, the pen, the table, the chair, they are all forms of technology because they assist human beings in getting the task done. Whether we are sitting on the chair just to have a conversation with the person on the other side, whether we are using the same chair and writing something in our diary, our ideas, our thoughts, whatever it may be, chair is also a form of technology. Clothes that you wear that covers our body during the winter and the other seasons, they are also a form of technology. A few purists may not agree with this, or the people who have this high-handedness about the definition of technology may never agree that the clothes that you wear is a form of technology. But it is. It may not be in the books, but by logic and by design and default, clothes are also form of technology. But let's get back to what we really think technology is. Your phones, your computers, the electronic devices which we are so proud of, though we cannot decide till today whether technology helps us, are we slaves to technology, are we masters of technology? That is one question which has no answer. There is no straightforward answer to this. These forms of electronic devices or technology or multimedia and IT is a projection of the human brain. The brilliance we still fail to decipher. Have we ever wondered that, like the brain, the computer also has a limited capacity? For example, the storage in my phone is 16 GB. Others may have more storage like 128 GB and so on and so forth. But the key word is your computer, your phone has a limited capacity, means it could be 2 GB, it could be 1 GB, it could be 128 GB. Well, my computer has 1000 GB. What is bigger than GB? It's TB, it's terabytes. Yet, despite all this, the space is limited, which means that we cannot just store our photos, documents, videos. We have to remove something. As to not put any pressure on the brain, we write our ideas in a diary or in our computer so that our brain is not jammed. There is no pressure on it. We try to make sure that our brain is able to function without any kind of unnecessary pressure. In terms of storage, capacity, memory, let's take an example which my listeners will be familiar with. Let's take the example of first your digital cable networks, that is the Amazons, Netflix, and so many others, Hotstar, Voot, Hulu, and others. What is the example I'm trying to bring here? These digital cable networks have over 500, 600 TV shows and movies. Yes, they have, we think there are so many of them, but if you look carefully, despite having a certain TV show in that list, that TV show may have been removed, but it may have not been removed from the list. So yes, even the likes of Amazon, Netflix, Hotstar, they have limited capacity in their servers. In order to add new TV shows, they have to remove a few old TV shows. There could be a lot of reasons. It could be the fact that they are no longer paying that traditional cable network who allows them to host the TV show on their platform. There could be some kind of a contract which is expired. The other reasons could be this particular TV show is not being watched by a lot of people, and then the computer, using some formula and some algorithm, moves the said TV show. It brings forward the TV shows which are popular, and then there is always the case of storage. Storage is limited. They could be having 1,000 GB or a 10,000 GB space. They cannot have unlimited TV shows, movies, and whether it's news, sports on their platform. Their platform is also, after all, a machine. It will collapse if there are so many TV shows. They remove the TV shows, as I said, for a variety of reasons. The same way we declutter our phones, our computers. How do we declutter? Either we remove the entire document, the photos, into the recycle bin, from the recycle bin out of the computer's hard drive, or we upload it to the cloud. We are so proud of this cloud technology that yes, somewhere in the air, whatever cloud means in the definition of technology, the documents, the photos and text and other videos are stored. But remember, even cloud has limited capacity. For example, Gmail gives you a free storage of 15 GB, but if you want more, you have to pay for it. Why? Because they are offering you a service. As I said, there is no free lunch. Similarly, there is nothing free that we do on the particular service. If you have a talk show which is being hosted by a certain site, but you have taken the free version where you don't have to pay, then you get limited services. The more you pay, the more services open. Have you ever seen the lines memory full on your computer? Have you? Well, yes, because that's how the computer, the electronic device functions. Even the books that you read have a limited number of pages. It could be 1,000, 300, 200, 100. We cannot have this unlimited number of pages. Nothing in this world is unlimited. The kryptonite for a computer or an electronic device is the limited capacity itself. Let's take this definition of limited capacity in another context. The pseudo networking publishing site Twitter, it only allows us to write 200 characters, which means the commas, the full stops, the spaces, the n dash, the m dash, it all has to be within 200 words. Why? Because there is this understanding which I exactly don't agree with, that individuals do not read a lot. They want more information in less number of words. Well, I don't belong to that category. I would love reading 1,000, 2,000 word article. And in that way, Twitter is irritating because you don't know what exactly to write. In my case, there is no skill required to be on Twitter, but that is a different discussion. Let's get back to this idea of limited storage capacity. In the idea of limited capacity, let's take the example of a sports person. They play for a certain duration of time. They cannot go on forever and ever, at least as an active sports person. They eventually retire. And as I said, everything that is not human, that is not flesh and bones, is technology. For example, let me give you another strange example of technology. I use the word strange because for most of my listeners, this may not exactly be technology. Knife, the spoon, the plates that we use for our meals is also technology. Why is this technology? It may not be exactly in the archaic definition of technology or in the modern definition of technology. Saying that knife is a form of technology may for some individuals may be as the archaic form of technology, what is called the stone age. But you need a knife even in the 22nd century to cut vegetables. You need a knife for other purposes. As long as we are dependent on something or any piece of inanimate object that helps us complete our task, that helps us, that is a substitution for quick work, is a form of technology. The world may have moved from typewriters to keyboards or from swords to drones, but if you remember the old adage, the pen is mightier than the sword, then I would say that the keyboard or the typewriter is mightier than the drone. The diary that I'm using to write my ideas has a limited number of pages. Just like humans who need energy when they lose all the fluids and the food in them, the same way we need to charge our gadgets. Even the desktop which we are using, it still needs electricity to function. This basically means that the gadgets which we are so proud of are also limited in their storage capacity. It may not look like that, but I have heard of individuals who tell me that I have a limited capacity in my phone or I have a limited amount of GB or hard drive on my computer and I want to augment it by having an external hard drive, which basically means that we understand this. Saying that technology is limitless is a misnomer. The pen will eventually lose the ink, means the ink capacity in the pen will eventually dry out. Your phones have a limited number of contacts you can have or a limited number of photos you can keep in your phone. Eventually the phone will say memory full or battery low. The computer will say memory full, and in this way the natural CPU is mightier than the artificial intelligence. No matter how much we progress, how much we express our pride for technology, cloud computing, supercomputers, quantum computers, cloud storage, they are still limited. You have to remove photos which may be seen as extra. Don't you declutter your home in the same way we declutter our computers. So it basically means that human nature is a part of the computer. If human nature was unlimited, if our brain could store unlimited data, we would have made the computer with unlimited data, but we did not. Since our brain stores limited data, which means that we have to put our ideas somewhere on the diary or on the computer, The same way our computer has limited data, which means that at some point or the other we have to remove the unnecessary documents, the applications. So yes, is everything limited despite it being artificial intelligence or natural intelligence? Yes. For example, even this episode has a limited time. I cannot go on and on forever. And this applies to everything that we do. So this ends episode number 229 on the 3rd of July 2020.
For more awesome content, tune in to the next episode of the weekly show with Aditya.